Welcome to Sales Chaos. My name's Dan Waldschmidt.
And I'm Todd Schnick.
That's Todd, by the way.
That's Dan.
He jumped in there before I could introduce him, but all's well. I am a business strategist. I run Waldschmidt Partners International, speaker, writer, author, and crazy runner. Although last night, about 15 miles in, kind of embarrassing to say it live, but I had to call my wife. I got nicked by a car or something. I don't know. I just was tired. So
You got nicked by a car on a run.
I got nicked by a car, of all things. But by the way, it has nothing to do with what we talk about here in real life. But we put 12 minutes on the clock and we talk SalesChaosTV. And by the way, my buddy Todd here is a runner himself.
Distance runner, a marketing strategist with Intrepid Group. We help our clients become intrepid business people.
What does intrepid even mean, by the way?
It means bold, audacious, trying new things.
Why don't you name your company Bold Marketing?
Because it's not as cool as Intrepid. Intrepid's named after an Apollo spacecraft. I mean, it's just cool.
Oh, so you put some thought into it.
Well, just a little bit.
Okay, well, let's put some thought into this.
Okay, how about that?
So what are we talking about today?
You know what? A lot of debate about this conflict between marketing and sales. And I think we ought to have the final debate on the subject and put the matter to rest, because it just drives me insane how many organizations struggle and I think lose revenue, lose momentum, because their marketing and sales departments are fighting one another.
Well, first let me say that I think anything we discuss is the final debate.
Well, that goes without saying.
Any debate.
Any debate.
What we discuss, it ends the matter right now.
Yes.
But you do bring up a serious issue. I know we're kind of lighthearted in our discussion, but what is not lighthearted is kind of that conflict that goes on between sales and marketing. And it seems to be in every major business that's out there, and I mean major meaning $1 million businesses up to $4 billion businesses.
Yeah.
That
the problem permeates most organizations at any level. Before we get into where you and I stand on it, why don't we kind of talk about the difference, what we define the difference between marketing and sales is.
Absolutely.
You know, I think that's part of the problem, is I think everybody has a different definition of what they see their marketing and sales departments doing. I mean, is it as simple as sales closes the leads that marketing generates?
Well, in my mind, I think that's pretty darn close to it. I was thinking kind of marketing creates the demand and sales closes the demand. So I think we're on the same page.
I mean,
I agree with that.
To me, that's a pretty simple explanation of it.
Yeah.
I don't know why there's so much struggle with that.
Well, one observation would be how many marketing guys get paid like us in sales, right? Remember the days you're out there, no gas in your car because you're trying to go close a deal, bring a check back, and keep a small percentage of it. How many marketing guys don't get paid a salary? I mean, if you're watching this and you're marketing, nothing against you. It's just we get paid differently. You get a paycheck and you're working your ass off like we're working hard, but there's no guarantee at the end of the day, even if I put in 80 hours and you put in 40 hours, you could make twice as much as I
let me put out my statement on it, and you may agree or disagree, and I suspect many in the audience will disagree with this, but I don't see a real difference between marketing and sales. I think I think the fact that there are separate units is the problem. I don't know why there's not one organization of people that are out there generating opportunity to grow revenue for the company. I don't know why there has to be a VP of marketing and a VP of sales. I don't know why there has to be two separate units.
Well, I'd say we love to silo everything. You know, we love to take. You know,
but isn't that the problem?
It is the problem. It is part of the problem. You know, we have 8 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. You've got these different functions, and you know the reality is, as Todd said, I agree that they are doing very similar functions, and that our organizations as a whole, culturally, need to be selling. So going into 2012, we see all these fancy buzzwords like sales and marketing alignment, a lot of alignment. Well, businesses are really hard to align because they're full of people.
Full of human beings. Yeah. You can't silo human beings, in my opinion.
And people, you know, depending upon how they roll out of bed in the morning, really hard to align them. That's why we made up that whole herding cats type of quote. But one way to kind of make your culture more aligned around producing revenue, right? Which is what we all want here. Is we want to make more money in 2012 than we did in 2011. Is to create a culture of revenue generation. where it isn't necessarily you're marketing, I'm sales. And even we try to use those comparisons like, well, it's a football team and I'm the quarterback and you're doing this. Well, it's not necessarily true, because on a team, the quarterback likely makes more money than a lot of everybody else on the team. And so while there's a team sense of teamsmanship and camaraderie, it's not all the same. So in our organizations...
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but to use that analogy, a quarterback wins a Super Bowl, becomes a Pro Bowler, wins rings, and gets paid big contracts because he's protected by an offensive line. And I suspect that the guys on the offensive line are the guys that probably make a lot less on average than a quarterback. But you don't win a championship without a good offensive line. And so, to me, yeah, maybe there's a VP of sales or a VP of marketing who gets a higher paycheck, but he doesn't succeed, or he or she doesn't succeed without that offensive line.
So what are you saying then? You're saying that they should...
I think the problem is we're segmenting into teams. I think we're shining a light on the quarterback.
So what
when
to
we
do?
ought not do that.
What should we do? What should listeners do? I mean, one thing I think they should do is bring together those two heads and have more conversation, more dialogue. And I'm not saying you have meetings for the sake of meetings, but you talk about what your goal is. A lot of businesses that I'm working with, if you talk to one person, they have a goal, and that's how they hit their bonus plan. You've got another person that has a different bonus plan, and they don't mesh. For instance, Google, when new CEO Sergey said that the new way bonus plans were going to be dealt or given out at the end of the year was going to be on how well they did socially on their social networks, and across the board, everybody. I think that's one way to help align these two is culturally increase conversation, so it's not your thing, my thing, it's our thing. And then two is we act according to how we get paid.
Yeah. Well, Tom Peters talks a lot about this the importance of the cross-functional communication in terms of interdepartmental dialogue. And that's obvious. I think you need to do that. I don't think enough of that's happening. I think, let's be honest here, Dan. I mean, we're talking to people who are working in large organizations that have been segmented this way for generations.
That's true.
It's one thing to listen to two guys talk for 12 minutes about they ought to be working as one. It's easier said than done. So how do we what advice can we impart to help an organization really solve that problem? Because I don't want to use something so cliche as everybody on the team is in marketing, from the receptionist and how she answers the phone to the janitor and how he cleans the lobby so that when a customer or a prospect walks in, the place looks nice, and that impacts the experience. But it is. I mean, it really is, and I don't think there's enough emphasis on that. I mean, I called Sprint yesterday to deal with an issue, and I couldn't understand the person on the other end of the phone because he was speaking in an accent. Yeah. And I couldn't understand him. And
frustrating.
So I mean, is it that simple to say, hey, we all have to be focused on providing a good experience for our prospect to buy?
Well, one we talked about is more conversation. So if you're keeping notes here, one, more conversation. Two, make sure people are paid to perform as a team. That's very easy. And third, you're saying is look at the details. So I mean, it may seem unimportant to have someone who speaks clear English. And by the way, not just accent. Can your team articulate, even if they're well-speaking English-speaking people? Can they articulate your story? I think that's clear. I think these details matter because it's no one person is now going to close deals. That's what we're seeing heading into 2012. This next generation of selling is it really demands a team, even if it's web selling, because it's not just your website, it's the designer and then the back-end architecture that knows what people have purchased in the past. It's the lead tracking system that knows that someone Googled you or came from another site. So even that, even if it's just hardware or software, is a team type of selling. I think that's what's key about this is so one, you are communicating, two, you're paying, three, you're managing the details, four, you're creating this team environment where people have specific duties to perform a goal. It's almost like you're in the Marine Corps and you might have a sniper, but you've also got the spotter, and you've got the supply guy, you got the SEAL, and it's hard to argue that any one is less important than the other, but they're doing their job amazingly well. right? And so I think that creates that team. 5, if I have to give you a 5th pointer, is the fact of you have to be extreme. And I know I talk about extreme behavior all the time, but you've got to be extreme to break down these silos. Todd mentioned it, earlier. At the companies that we work with, even if it's just a $2 million company, and I don't work with too many of those. Mine are only $50 million and up, but these companies have these roles, and they turn roles into departments, and the departments become fiefdoms. And it's like, well, don't mess with my stuff. That's my stuff. So one way to do that is to...
And that's a recipe for that's the problem.
That's right.
That's the problem.
So break that down, though. Break that down. Say, okay, we're all in sales, or all in marketing. We're all in this mission of changing the world, this mission of growing sales or changing this industry. You're going to field the leads. You're going to close the leads. You're going to follow up with the leads. And so instead of we're all in the same team, we're all in the same, break down, be extreme in those things. So don't be afraid to say we're not going to have a marketing department. We're a change the world department. That's all of us.
You don't have to have a marketing. My advice is simple. Don't have a VP of sales and a VP of marketing. I think you have one individual who's overseeing the change the world department. And everybody's got to flow together, and the whole ultimate goal is to inspire a prospect to buy. And there's a lot of subsets to that, and there's different.
We have 12 minutes,
and we have 12. Well, we have 1:08 left. So I think the problem is that we're following old school rules that the org chart has to have a marketing and a sales department. Yeah. I think that's the problem. I think you ought to blast that away and build a team. And here's the other thing. The thing that frustrates me is that we're setting these rigid structures of teams and how to interact with the marketplace that in and of itself is very fluid and human.
Right.
And they're not robots. Every individual you deal with needs different things, wants different things, is inspired by different things, and so the team has got to be malleable to be able to interact with that interchanging marketplace.
It is, and now look, we're in 12 minutes. We've given you 5 pointers that we think are important, but we're not pretending at all. I think that this is easy, and that you can do this from now until January 15th. You can have this whole thing done. It's an
ongoing effort. It never stops.
Took the words right out of my mouth, literally.
Yeah.
But and it's hard to do. With that, we're out of time.
We're out of time. So you can reach me at toddschnick.com.
DanWaldschmidt.com. And on this site, there's dozens of good articles.
Oh, there's so much great content here.
Yes, stay here, hang around, read some articles. More about this alignment on sales and marketing. It's key coming up into 2012, because if you can't get along and have a simple mission, then a lot of business gets really hard.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that wraps this episode. On behalf of Dan Waldschmidt, I'm Todd Schnick. Treat your customers, your prospects like human beings. We'll see you next week on Sales Chaos TV.